All right. Well, welcome to this morning's restorative experience. We're going to set ourselves up in front of a horizontal bolster. This is a rectangular one that you want to use for this practice. And the blanket to the back, this whole lifting position is supportive of opening up through the ribs, the lungs, and certainly through the reservoir of the core, right, the core chamber. So one thing you might establish when you sit in front of the bolster is placing that ball so it's off in the side yard, so it's not a distraction at first. You've got a belt behind you, unbuckled, so it's full length. And then when you do lower back, I want you to support your lower back entirely. So lower back support. So I'm going to be in kind of this recline position. That's a little bit of a core focus. But I'm going to lift up my rear, so push down to my feet, lift up the pelvis, slide the block. You can get into this other ways. You can sit on the block first and then lie back. But when you're in this position, please be sure that you get your brain supported on the blankets almost pronto, so that you'll find that this motion of the core chamber elongating the front spaces intelligently, right, supports the back muscles that may be strained and upset because they're overstretched from pushing forward. So we're going to try to stretch the front and then see if we can feel some equilibrium in both directions, front and side and back. Okay, so center your feet, about hips distancing. First things first. Oh, the one thing we're missing, oopsies, our sandbag. Okay, even better. Don't forget your sand. Okay, so what you're going to do is place your sand across your upper ribs. And when you're lowering back and you have your support under your head, feel how that sand presses circulation through the breathing muscles, okay? And feel the knees bending, pointing upwards at first. Reach back to your belt. And then as you grasp a hold of your belt, you're going to pull and then motion your elbows out wide. Okay, feel where the arms settle down into the blanket or maybe the floor, depending on your arm length. But feel where there's reach through the arms. And there's continual relaxation in the low back, mid back. And as we set our focus into our practice, resting your eyes back through the brain and experiencing the influence of breathing in slowly. And then relax the out breath. Even if you feel the sand weight, use that weight to start to calm the nervous system and feeling that necessary touch on the body to settle into the practice. Take the hands out a little wider on the belt. Be generous with the width and the attitude of pulling the belt. Now we feel that we push down into our feet, so you might feel a natural pelvic tilt starting to motion through the back of your pelvis. So what I want you to explore here is keep the energy of pulling your belt strong and full with the chest. And feel that you're pulling the belt apart, and then it starts to become an awareness in your upper back. Kind of like visualization could be helpful here, is if you sense the one arm to the other arm stretching open is like a big smile across your upper back. And the back of your brain is a dot on top of that. But you're trying to create that bit of a smile. So you're pulling with your hands to create support and heat into your back. And then enjoy letting go of your belt. And then as you reach your hands to your sand, you're going to slide the sandbag down to the hip front of the hips, and then as you stretch your legs both straight down, move the sand so it's on the top of the thighs, and the heels reach actively, as if you're pushing through them. The toes have a sense of pulling towards your knees, so you're really flexing. And with this flexion, there's a little bit of beginnings of hip flexion. So interlace your fingers and press the hands towards the ceiling so that you're stretching your hands, your fingers, your wrists. This can feel like a pretty busy position for your arms. So the arms and the wrists can use this supportive engagement to untangle tight spots or areas that are perpetually in habit of curling forward. Hands do that. So they're in the opposite way right now. They're turned inside out. And as you move your arms overhead, take it really slow. Imagine someone's watching you, and it's important you go slow. Right, we oftentimes try to get to the end of the pose fast, but we'll get however we get through the sequence, and some things we might get to and some not as much. But take the time to thoroughly reach and get that big reach, stretch through the side ribs. One pose at a time. Noticing all the articulations right now. How could you feel your back issue? Because your feet have to push, your arms have to push overhead. There may be imbalances that you sense right away. And feel what's balanced in your belly area. That could be an area that's simply similar side to side as far as toning. And then let go of the grip of your fingers. Let your arms move open out to the sides, chest relaxed. And then relax your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips. Let go of your direction of pulling your toes back. You know, with a few more breaths here, scanning and tracing the path of the bones in the front body, through the ribs, relaxing in the heart. Now we'll start to move our sand over to the left side. And we'll bend the knees, and as the feet center in a little close-ish, let's keep it real simple here. We're gonna roll to our left so that we kind of roll off the block. And then pushing the block a little bit back, which you might get a hold of if you have a ball, is to grab that and actually turn in towards the ribs on the bolster, and then scoot into your elbow and situate your side body on that bolster. So your left ribs spatially are moving downwards. Okay, so I've got a ball or a block, you can use either here, and place it on the inside of the right leg, and then with that kind of in sight, after the previous position, we're starting to get some movement in our back spaces. So feel the left knee and see if you can kind of pull it up close to the bolster but on the floor next to it. And then grab onto your bag and lift it up to the external right hip. And then cross that left arm between the props here. Now, a block overhead I find to be satisfying in the way that it allows me to feel like a complete reach through my side. So it gives me a sense of settling and centering. But moments in between, there is a bit of pull in my shoulder. So what you might do is feel it, see if you can breathe to experience that elongation of the ribs. And anytime you want to stretch the chest a little bit farther open towards the sky, or rotate through the joint, Any motions that might be supportive of you feeling that you're creating more spaciousness in the body. That's the key, is to feel more space. Less grip in the body. Less claustrophobic. Okay, if you were inside the body looking around, how could you work on using the moments here to elongate and spatially lift up out of the side waist? Okay, and then layer a few moments where you feel like you're in stillness in the shape, and internally you're breathing up through the ribs. Yeah, from the last pose we were on our back, so the breath into the ribs was pretty direct in the upper lungs. But here we're now in the intercostals. So we're just kind of surfing through the body and feeling the value of all the areas that we could access to support traction and loosening up tension. So if your head is holding up a little bit to see, or to just to hold up for the next instruction, feel for a few moments where you really let your left side of your head rest into the blankets. Almost that you push your head a little bit downwards, and then feel the neck untangle and release. Even though it's the same pose we've done before, today we're going to focus a little different on how it supplies circulation through our back. So in the next few moments, feel the right knee bending. Feel how much it can bend comfortably. If that's hurtful for you, please pass on the idea of pulling the foot a little higher up. So feel what's okay for stretching the front of the right thigh. You might push the foot a little bit farther back to open up through the quad, the hip flexor. And then a few more moments, we're going to start to feel like we're rolling onto our back of our left shoulder. So you're kind of turning the ribs to the sky ribs. It could be the name of this session, sky ribs. You know, when you feel the body in that rotation, lower the right arm. Make sure that that's a little more casual for the reach. And then this whole corridor, we're going to center back and work our way down through the hips. Okay, so we're going to move the sand off. And then as you roll into your left side of the ribs to help yourself curl and uncoil up, move yourself to shift your bolster straight up and back on your blankets. And then grab any props you have behind the blankets, belt, block, bring it all to the front near your knees. Near knees. Okay. So when we have our bolster vertical straight back, we're going to sit up so we're pretty compact, touching to the tip of the bolster. And then place a couple blocks first under the legs. Find where they're situated under the upper back, actually the side of the thigh, supporting your lower back. Okay. Now with the belt, we're going to buckle it up if you've got an ability to do that with your belt, or if you have a cinch belt, you can slide it through and then establish a loop. All right, bring the belt loop overhead and then place it forward across the tops of your feet. Okay, feel when the belt is wrapped over, as if you're kind of embracing your feet with your belt. So it's like you're putting a metal over the feet, you know. And then as you pull, you want to have a significant tugging with the belt so that it goes really low on the back of the waist, so it feels like it's at the top of the buttocks. And you're going to move the buckle so it's close enough so you can get a hold of it if you need to get out of the pose, or it's easier to actually tighten it down. So when we're here, let's do this one where we have our sand across our feet, right across. Now the feet are really nicely settled. Okay, when you get a hold of your ball, keep it near the left side, press down on the bolster, and then let your spine curl like you're in cat-cow. You have the arch at the back, you have the cat spine, and then you're going to curl your way on down. And then as you reach back, you've got just the bolster, right? And there's no blanket bulk, so you can't really adjust this for your neck. So you might take a few moments to hold the back of your head, to adjust and lengthen, and then let the weight of the brain trust its support. And then quickly, you're going to sweep the left arm over the right and hook around just above the elbows and intertwine your arms and work your way towards your arms moving towards the back, towards your face. Let the belly soften and the sensation center via the breath. Now we want to get to a place where we actually feel some strength activated in the arms. So as you uncross, reach around your shoulders like you're giving yourself a big hug. Reach around to the upper back, trying to creep your fingers to the back of the shoulders to the blades. Now, uncross and recross, right arm over left. Start with a hug on this side. Let's see if this gives support to our back chemistry. Like you have to kind of search through your back, the cycles of awareness in your back. And this is a good experience to concentrate on symmetrical poses. This is a symmetrical pose. Now, intertwine the arms like you're twisting them. So your elbows are connecting, right? In some way, shape, or form, the arms are crossed. And they will only cross if you have these elbows to help out with the folds of the arms. So feel like the elbows are kind of jabbing away, and then intertwine the arms. And give yourself a little free range. Remember, you're in your home practice. You can research your potential here. So you might move the arms back and forth. You might feel your elbows kind of squish down into your chest. And that's not always pleasant. So you have to find what works for your body. And if moving them back over to the face, up to the face, that is the, that's what we want to do with this pose. This pose is called Garudasana in the Indian terms, Sanskrit. So we're actually trying to develop that support for the rotator cuff. So when you feel the arms move towards the face, if it's a little bit tuning into your shoulders, stay with that. If it feels like muscles, kind of achy, strengthy, stay with it. If it feels like it's hurtful, then you move your elbows closer to your heart. Now, as you unwind your arms, let your arms fall open to the floor. Feel your elbows relax down and feel if you can touch as many parts of the back of your arm. That's reasonable, right? You're not going to get your shoulder blade to touch the floor right now, but it is touching into a place where it's a floor-based practice. Right, we're reclining. But use this lift, this incline of the props to help you properly open up. That's all they're there for, right? They're there to support you. They're there to bring the floor up to you. So as we feel the legs continue to resonate with the shape, feel the back of your arms. If it's hard to get your elbows to touch easily, consider breathing in at the upper ribs, like you're trying to take in every sip of oxygen possible. And then as you exhale, feel if you experience an increased range of motion or flexibility because of your breathing. Now, breathing is its own exercise in incorporating the influence of the lungs, the breath force. How much air you get in depends on the movement of the rib cage, right? The actual movement, and thus creating flexibility. Now slide the arms in very close to the sides. And unbuckle the belt. If you've got a cinch belt, it does take a little bit more finagling, but likely you're going to scoot your feet closer to the groins, and then as your knees position pointing up, if you've got a belt that's still snagged around you, just walk your feet a little closer towards your seat. Kind of kindly push the sand a little bit forwards, and then the belt goes so it's not around your legs. Okay. Step the feet hips distance. Right leg lifts, crosses to the left knee. And then let's position our ball so it's next to the left upper thigh. And lean your body weight into that ball. If there's any distractive props, just kindly move them aside. You don't want to have a lot of distractive props around your feet here. So feel when you hold the right knee with your left hand. Ooh, that can be a very specific, rich sensation in your right thigh. Yeah, feel where the ribs gently open and feel the connection into your hip. No requirement to feel the right hip trying to push up and cross over at all here. And you might find the experience of ribs open, heart centered, tugging on the right knee is just what you need. Simple. You thought you couldn't get simpler, but here we are. Inner studies. Okay, with a few more moments here, start to release your grip. And then study what the space is on the right side of your back. Kind of notice, does this give you a little bit of kind of swing and range of motion for your back of your hip and your low back? Feel how those areas connect. And then as you come back through center, uncross and left foot up, cross to the right knee. It's really the lower bones of the left leg, not the foot. Right? It could be the foot, but I tend to go towards ankle, I suppose. So when I move the ball to the right hip, I kind of push any block away. And then I tilt my thigh on the right leg so it smushes the ball. Okay. Reach up to the left knee and make it a good one. Make each of these positions giving yourself a rich stretch, deep stretch. So when you pull on the knee, you are the inspiration for your hip. So it depends on your influence, how you're going to pull with the right hand. Yeah, and you might get a message here that you're really tightening your right shoulder when you're doing this. So you might take a little pause and kind of bend your arm and feel your hand move towards your shoulder like a bicep curl-ish direction. And then get a hold of the knee again and feel if you can get a little bit of that into it. So that you're using more of the arm versus your joint, right? Your shoulder joint. Not that you're going to wear it out, but you got some time ahead with that joint. So feel ways of kind of incorporating and adding other muscle groups that are in your composition within the pose. Some of us do this pose with the arm back. I'm just trying to keep it really close to the back. And now with a few more moments, get a good pull with the right hand. Yeah, play fair with your breath, your ribs. Okay, so let's come back to center and push down to both feet. We're going to lift up our tush and place the ball under the left buttock, because that's the one we were just working on. Yep. So we're going to mush the ball, just really smush it with your body weight. And if you don't really feel a particular layer of massage, like it isn't really scrubbing a part of your fabric that is massaging into your muscle, you might move the ball a little bit lower on the buttock and maybe a little farther out towards the lateral rotator, not right on the side of the thigh, but towards. You might be surprised that where you start is a good spot, because it connects the lower back into the hip. So I would start with push down and feel here if you could lift up the right foot and cross it back to the left leg and kind of push down and massage a little bit. You don't have to have your foot on your left knee. You could stay here. I'm just giving some ideas of ways to play with it. And then we'll switch buttocks with the ball. Ball over to the right cheek. And bring the left foot maybe up, maybe not. You just kind of mush the ball and massage it for a few more moments now on the right side. And feel if you push the hip side to side, like you're doing a very slow wagging of your tail or windshield wiper. Feel the pressure, and likely one side will feel different than the other in your hip. Now, in the back of your hip, the buttock muscles. So this leg, this right leg, is going to be our base for our side sage next. So I'm going to keep the ball there and take myself all the way over, turn, now that my chest is still open. Notice how nice it is to have a bolster to kind of reinforce the opening. It's simple science, but these props can be relatively helpful for your condition, right, to open up. And then we're going to roll on our ball, okay, and then squish it, really squish it, and then come up. You can move it. You can move your bolster now across. You don't have to have your ball on the inside of the left knee, but you know, it's kind of nice for this one to have a ball or a block inside the left knee for this side. And then lift up your sand or your bag of weights and place that so it's on your left side beam. Side beam could be hip, thigh side, waist, right? So some of us will move our sand up higher. Some will turn the sand to the side. You know, be relatively specific that you're on your side. So even if I start tracking and twisting right now towards the screen, it's probably not the smartest move long-term for the health of my spine. So I'm going to take it back to stay with my side. If you have a block, bring it overhead. Okay. Place your supports and start to get into your side sage awareness. So the ribs interact with the breath. Now, for me, this practice is meditative. It's my meditation practice, right? Settling into the inner environment, pacing my breath. So feel where your left arm is or where it opens. You be the decider on the left arm direction. And let your body weight sink down. Breathe in and up. Expand. Contract. Now, as the mind gets a little more rested in its fixations, this is a good time to start to move a little more upright in our sitting bones. So what we'll do is we'll move our sand aside. And then as you roll into the right ribs, I want you to scoop around, so you have movement in this. And then when you come around and up, we're going to move our bolster forwards, okay? And then we'll sit back on our blankets. So situate your blankets into, I guess, center-ish of the mat would be smart. But when you're seated on top, place your left knee to fold, so it's half of Poplar's pose, right? Knee is outwards. I like to put a ball under the left knee. It's not necessary for everybody. In fact, let's say your knee touches the ground, then that would be not useful to have the ball. But I like to use it because it kind of brings some buoyancy to my waist. So I feel like this whole midsection is kind of transferred to, I guess it just feels more buoyant in the centerpiece of the body. The centerpieces, okay? So get everything all organized again. Resituate yourself. And then place a sandbag perhaps on the top of the left thigh if you have one. Okay. So that's a little more grounding. Right leg is kind of extending outwards. And as I center my hands on the short end of my bolster, I'm going to lean forward, but be aware that the ritual of leaning might be of rounding. Okay, so I sit upright. I'm pretty toned through my shoulders. They feel toned. And as I lean forwards, feel the arch of my back really compress. So I'm going to lower my head down to decompress my back. And continue that feature of reaching. Now, once you get to the kind of the final extension, this is your maximum, you might bring your forehead on top of your bolster on the short end and the hands on the floor. That can be nice for even the neck. Okay, you might decide, maybe you prefer your hands on the bolster, pushing forward, head center of the arms. And maybe you decide that when you're here, you want to do some pulsing motion of regulating that movement through the back, through the digestive tract. So feel the arch, and then feel the rounding cat shape in the spine. Arch and rounding. You choose. Okay, so as I lean forwards and I have that reach through the arms, either forehead on the bolster or hands on, reach the breath in the ribs, really feel full in the rib cage. Okay, now we're going to move our position of the bolster. So lower it down and lift up the right leg, place it on top, okay? Now my left foot, I'm going to pull it in a little bit so I have an ability to pull my bolster in closer to my groins. And then lift up your blocks. Yeah, actually move the blocks in front. Take a belt. Let's work kind of on the being a little bit assertive on upright, not uptight. So when I hold the belt wide and generous, you just get the belt and stretch out your arms and move your belt back behind you. Open up the armpits, and kind of the ribs have this expandable feeling, but I don't know if your mental awareness is that they have circular sensations. They certainly have little corners and rounded. They're not really that jagged, right? Unless they're at the end. So feel when you're living, right? You're a living being, that there is a lot of hydration in the ribs. This could be intense in the back, right? Because you're trying to open up the front space. Is so supportive of your spine strength. Okay, now, as you bring your arms all the way back, you're going to drop your belt and then reach to the blocks. They're at the highest setting for all of us. And then walk your blocks forwards, depending on your hip circulation. Maybe it wants to push farther, maybe it responds to move back. But feel when your chest is forwards. Door number 1 is upright sensation, meaning door 2 is to lower down a little bit through the back of the ribs, so you kind of tamp them down and soften at your elbows. That's kind of nice to do, to kind of bend your elbows and push a little bit into the blocks and get into the thigh muscles and the hip. Okay, so let's take the blocks aside and we'll come back to pigeon pose with the left hip focus. So we'll move the sand aside, okay? If you've got things behind you, like something simple like a belt, you might want to push it away. But here's the interesting part here. We're going to use the 2 blankets for this pigeon. So it'll be like we have a bolster, pretty much. And blankets are easier to smush down than a bolster, a little bit easier. So move the right foot back, right? And feel where the leg extends behind you. And see if you can figure your waist so that the right leg is back, the top of the foot centers down. And then when you lower down your ribs, you could be on the bolster. Like, it's kind of like sleeping sage for us that we've done before, where you're here, but your legs are a little bit more casual. But now it's not so casual, it's right in the hip. So you could be here, resting your forehead down. If your back is feeling like there's little specific sites in your back that are really grippy on this position, moving your rib cage, rounding your back could be useful. We'll pair this pose with cat-cow pretty soon on all 4. So feel kind of the preparation for that here. Feel your head centering downwards. Let the shoulder blades spread apart, but still hold on to either the bolster or the hands pressed down, palms down. You know, as best as you can with collaboration of the upper body and the mid into the legs. So the area we might speak as a focal zone would be maybe the core, right? The torso. So moving from the torso. So just for a moment here, feel where your ribs are centered forward on either the bolster or maybe close to the floor. We're going to rotate in the torso for a moment. So I want you to push the bolster a little forwards. Actually, push it away so it's not going to be influencing this too much. And bend your right elbow so you, well, it's already probably bent, but you're going to cross the hand towards the left side of your mat. So the right hand points towards the left knee. And I want you to use the left hand to help you twist. So you're rotating the midsection, turning. Okay, now pause. Your front pause. Turn the heart back towards the floor. Inhale. Exhale, push the left hand down and twist. So we're getting a little bit of movement in our back. Inhale, center. So forehead downwards. Exhale, twist left. Try to keep your hips square, centered as far as they can be right now from the last pose. And then last time, pulsing with that twist, one more towards the left. Feel the direction of the ribs. Yep. Okay. Now as you come back towards center, you're going to place both palms down underneath the shoulders, toes under, and then as you lift up your left leg and stretch back, you're going to alternate bending them. And as the legs kind of pedal out, get a feel of reaching back through your calves. Now that doesn't mean the heels touch down, but you're stretching out and kind of juicing into the calves. Okay. Try just lowering down to your blankets and feel the toes under. Really keep that toe under appeal here. Okay. Now as my hands come a little farther forward under my shoulders and I move my spine front, lengthening to the crown of the head, round your back from table pose so the chin squeezes in to the chest. Inhale, arch the spine. Walk your hands to the top right corner of your space. Stretch the left side of the back. Let your head lower down. Feel the side of the waist stretch. Okay, now come all the way past the center to the other side, like you're on the prowl. So you're going to reach over to the left, and you're going to lean your hips to the back right corner, and your head lowers towards the right corner. Try to experience where the dimension of movement in your ribs and your back are balancing. So I find my actual back space, what is pointed to the back, is a challenging place to get the breath to arrive. So concentrate, let the left hand push on the floor and let the right arm kind of drag itself over towards the top left corner. So it's about at 11 o'clock. Okay, it's past 11, but that's where the hand is. Okay, now as you move your right hand in center, this is where we're changing it up with the hips. So we're going to move our hips down towards an up dog, but the two blankets add some support. Lift up your heart center towards the front of the space. Now, as you come back to table, I want you to pull your bolster closer, lengthwise under you, vertical. Toe under, and then lift up your knees, and maybe the forehead touches, maybe it's far from that space, touch down, but feel your hands far forward and trying to come into that downward facing dog, traction in your spine. Sitting bones reach back, Legs deep, full stretch. Okay, we're walking our hands back to our feet. So take a walk, be sure your bolster is easy reach. You're gonna scoot your feet close to your blankets and then lift up the bolster and hold on to it, kind of gently with your hands on the short end, and feel the position of the brain down between the arms. Head might nod a little side to side. Feel the reach of the arms and the sensation of your seat reaching back. And kind of notice by now we've used a lot of arms to help coordinate our back movements. So sometimes it gets to be enough, right? So when enough is enough with the arm gestures, this is where you need to take care of yourself, right? Where you lower down your arms and you dangle by either holding your elbows, let your head bow in towards the body, or you let your arms dangle freely. Just depends on your range of motion, doesn't it? So if you find you have quite a bit of flexibility when you lower your arms down, holding the elbows gives a greater range of traction for your back. If you're a little bit limited in your extension here, you might find moving your arms and letting them just hang is best for your back. Feel the weight of your head down. Make this an inversion and start to walk your feet wider to the edges of your sticky mat in your preferred arm position. It might even be reaching back to the bolster right now. There's a whole range of options, isn't there? When you can do what you want. And just feel your seat reaching back, feel it lifting up behind you, feel your arms forwards. Feel the hips. When you bend your knees and you scoot your feet in closer, you're going to start to walk your hands forward. And this time we're going all the way forward to an upright push-up pattern. Walk the feet back, the arms forward, and then carefully lower down the torso onto the bolster. The elbows bending, lowering down, and then lower the elbows perfectly to the floor and press them down for Sphinx pose to strengthen into your back and press down into your elbows. Okay, so feel the pressure down. Feel that gentle arch through the spine. Feel the ribs expand and contract. And simply slide the hands back. The elbows grip into the sides. And see if you can come up to table and then push the bolster forward with your right knee and come down so that you have that position of that right knee open and that left thigh stretching back. Okay, so you're in pigeon on the right hip. So the bolster could be underneath your core. It could also be horizontal across your mat, right? So you might find, this might work best for some of us in our kind of feeling the connection into our shoulders and our upper back. Sometimes feeling a direct pressure down with our arms versus pulling the arms in to hug something feels better. So connect with your sensations in your back. Feel the weight down into your hips. Feel the reach back through the lower spine. Now, lowering down the brain can be useful as well. So if you're not interested in using the bolster right under your arms, you can also try what it's like when the bolster is under your forehead, right? So this might be sort of similar arm-wise to what we were doing a moment ago with our elbows down at Sphinx pose, but it has that element to it and the distribution of weight into the shoulders, elbows, and the knee and hips. So it kind of distributes your weight load in all these parts. It's kind of interesting how you get to this part in your practice and you start to notice some of the layers of influence with body weight. That's what stretches the joint here and the connective tissue then when you use your body weight to sink down. So it's a good thing to have. And it's really hooray that you can have control of it, have control of where you push, where you surrender, where you release. That's a life lesson. Okay, so now let's move our weight over to the right hip entirely and swing the left leg out. Place the ball under the right thigh. And even though these seem kind of like outlines, it's a very specific formula. Some of these positions we're patterning through. It's nice to get our structure to kind of open up in these regions that might just be kind of pinned together most of the day. So when we have the left leg out to about 10 or 11 o'clock, the right knee is open. I've got a ball right under the bent right knee. Right foot is close to my left thigh, but it doesn't go towards touching. And as I lift up the bolster, your choices here is to lean forward and to catch it if that left knee is trying to roll in. So you might need to put a block under it. Sometimes that could be helpful. A towel. So just kind of notice if you have some discomfort in your knee when you lean forward to use a prop under that. But lean forward and catch your focus into your lower back if you're pushing with your hands and you have a real swoop in your spine. Feel the leaning experience. The spinal spaciousness is really essential here to feel your back gently lengthen. Breathing. Now, when you're feeling that reach through your arms, spine round, so you feel a little bit of a curly Q in the back, question mark, and then lower the bolster down and place your left foot up on top. And see if you can snag some blocks. Okay, so they're up high. And you're leaning forward. Now, feel when the blocks are there and then reach your hands this time behind you and tag on a belt to your hands, attach a belt, and reach your arms back. So the palms are forwardish. And you might play with that directionally, like, is that the right way for you? You know, palms back was my habit for a long time, and then figured out this was what I need to do, right? Corrections. So the shoulders back might take some time to feel that response. So give a try to lean forwards now, and then lift up your arms behind you. Feel when they pulse back and up. Feel the shoulders back. That's key. Now, you've got your back muscles pretty toned. So we're gonna let go of the belt and bring our hands to our blocks. And feeling that the breath regulation, just regulating the breath, can center the spine and the hips and actually feel a milder stretch in the back, low back, but also around to the left. Breathing with that forward motion. And now feel the connectedness in both of the legs, and we're going to get busy with moving them upside down. So what we're going to do is take the left foot off the bolster, turn your bolster across your mat towards the front of it, well, the foot of, I guess, your mat, isn't it? To the feet spatially. And then as you uncross the legs and your connections, you're going to slip off of the blankets and take one off to the side and one to the back. Get a couple blocks for this. I'm not sure if you're going to want two. Two is pretty ambitious. So feet on the bolster, scoot your seat towards it. And then when you recline, you're going to place your brain back on one blanket. And then as I push down into my feet on the bolster, I'm going to lift up my hips. I'm just going to kind of see my range of motion in my back. So massage the spine, lift and lower your hips, your pelvis, pelvic tilting, and you might have a little bit of that stretch in your neck here with the blanket. So it's up to you if you want to keep that blanket position under your brain. But let the palms be rather passive here. Your hands are passive, your back muscles and your hips are reacting. They're only going to do something if you ask them to. So once we get our hips up this next time, if you add a block flat, and then you just let your back rest onto the block, you start to bring some flexion into your hips, right? Which isn't usually in, we're getting towards the flexion. So soon enough, we're getting there. We're going to try to get the space open. So I've got one block now. As I lift up my feet and then bring my legs up, you can choose if this block height is enough for you. So the nice thing about doing Viparita Karani with our blocks is that the foundation is a little bit more firm and designed for response of a flooring, versus a bolster, a little bit more attached to definition. So you might find you could go higher with either the one block you have, turn it up to the next height. You've got to decide on your height in the next few moments. Or you could add another block under your pelvis and have it quite a bit higher. You do want to try to get your abdominal organs higher up to make this an inversion, to actually massage the organs and tone the organs. That's the idea. Well, actually, an inversion is going to be more relaxing for the organs. Twists are going to be toning. So the idea here is the toning comes next, but this is kind of settling and reversing that gravitational pull. So I can turn my block up the next notch and then come back up with my feet. Or I could put another block. Yeah, that takes you a little bit of energy to get that one situated high enough and then bring your legs up. So if you get here and you decide, whoa, that's just so intense in my neck, maybe you move your blanket away, maybe you go back down to one block the second height, okay? So ideally you're not turning your head side to side, but you have your neck muscles so they're feeling some stretch. And I would find what works best for my head on the blanket or not, you choose. But feel the shoulders back and start to make way of opening the chest. You can tell this is a tricky one to get sand on your feet with a block under your sacrum. It's just tricky. So sometimes doing this pose without any sand on the feet is great because your feet get stepped on all day. So just let them be free feet without any pressure. And please choose the block height that's really reasonable for your back muscles. It doesn't feel like it's causing strain, discomfort. Be careful. And then once you find that peaceful balance, be there and feel where your arms would work for you. Most likely in this direction for legs up, the arms forward, down, so they're down below the hip line. The palms are open, and I'm trying to get my shoulders back and down and towards the floor to puff open my chest. Belly moves with the breath. Now let the legs separate a little bit, start to work on core leg strength. So move the feet a little bit apart and then feel if you can recalibrate this. Push up to the balls of the feet, move the legs back into each other and feeling that lift up through the legs, bend your knees. Okay, and then as you start to lower one foot at a time to the bolster, perhaps, if it's still there, you can tell how the lungs have to kind of recalibrate too. So you're going to push down to your feet. You're in a bridge pose right now. So this is a sister pose of where you were because you have to get through this to get into the next phase and vice versa. So when you push down, I want you to start to move both blocks out and or one, and then feel the spine center, 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 and then you're going to add your block or your ball between the knees and feel what is most comforting when you squeeze into that object between the knees. Your spine is flat-ish. You're pushing into the ball or the block. Squeeze, really squeeze that. Feet on the bolster, rest the spine. Okay, now squeeze the knees in and then move them towards your chest. Squeeze the ball. Hold on below the knees with both hands. Squeeze. Now at this point, the squeezing powers are going away. So just simply hold on to that ball between the knees. Make sure there's some space to both sides of your side yard in your space, because we're going to be crossing over in a moment. Arms stretch open in a T, and the knees go towards the right, not to touch down quite yet. So let the knees go towards the right. Feel the left hip, the side of the waist. Squeeze in and knees over to the left. Now make sure that the knees are actually moving. They're moving in towards your waist. So that gives that scoop and that rounding in your back. But we continue that core connection so as you come back and center for one more time each side. One more time with the ball idea. And then go back through into the other side. Squeeze the ball. Now, last time you motion into the center, push down into your feet. If the bolster's in your way, I want you to actually just kick it over to the left side, okay? Or right side, actually. Right side would be better for this next set. So put the feet on the floor, and then as you push down into your heels, lift up the hips at your leisure. Just lift up into a comfortable bridge pose. Try to now create hip flexion. This is the idea. So lift up the hip, the thigh lids. Try to stretch through that front zone. Arms could be straight open. And the glutes, the buttocks certainly are fired up now. And as you lower your spine, feel it drape on the floor, spine drape. You're going to carefully bring the knees in, move the ball aside, and then lower the right leg straight down and cross the left leg over to the bolster. Okay, so if the bolster is not easy to get your leg on, I like to find where my hip and knee are kind of in the same plane. So I do roll a bit over to that bolster, okay? If you have a bag of weights, see if you can finagle that onto your external left thigh. And so just get that feeling of that connection and support, opening the left arm, turning your head to the left, feeling the circulation through the left hip and the lower back. Right arm could be open as well as the left, feeling that continuation of dynamic circulation in your core, in your hip, and that kind of mingles to support through the whole line of the spine. So just visualize that vine of the spine kind of unraveling here a little bit. Open out the arms, relax the brain. Now, once you decide it's maybe best to move into the next phase, you might spend a moment just to pause and reconnect to your breath. You're in the pause phase. Okay, pushing pause. So we're going to move our sand, and if your knees are happy with this type of position, you might try the sand on the shins. It feels really good on your back. I like it. Sometimes I feel like it's good, but if my knees are having any issues in the last day or so, or something's not feeling great in one of them, I probably would pass on this. So I'll show it and then give an option. So sand on the shins, knees are going to squeeze in towards the upper belly. And then the arms can actually scoop through the sandbag loops if you have those. And if you don't have loops on it, you can let the arms clutch on the round of the weighted bag. Okay, a variation is to bring the sand to the back of the legs. You can see how this could be good too, because it will stretch the back line, scoop around the back into the hamstrings. It's just a little more challenging to scoop up the arms because it might drag the sandbag down to your rear, but it worked out today on this one, not always. Okay, so you be the decider which one, but choose one so that the spine can release. Sometimes a series of back releasing shapes can be a nice addition and balance to your regimen. Or even try some of these just a few times a week and see how your muscles respond. Now, as you switch the crossover, if you have the sand on the back of the legs, swing the feet up and then slide it away. And if you have on the shins, slide it over to the side. Now I'm going to move my bolster left side of my mat, and when I place my right leg across to it, I'm going to swing around my hips. So kind of feel what that's like when you have your knees bending, you kind of let them rock side to side. It's kind of a swinging hip position, isn't it? Even though you feel like you're kind of plastered to the floor. and you're not doing a whole lot, but it has a nice way of working with your gait or your movement signature. So these back poses can be nice to play with. So just lie on your back and sweep your legs side to side and do all kinds of maneuvers to ease your back. You never know. Could be helpful. So sand addition or weighted bag on the external right leg. Now keep in mind, if the knee and the hip are not really in the same track and it doesn't feel good for you, you can add your blanket on top of the bolster or a towel or anything. But if the knee and the hip are pretty tractioned and the sand is helping that traction, then you're probably fine with it. As long as you don't feel anything in the joint that's kind of rubbing you the wrong way when you leave the pose, that's usually an indicator. Well, you could have changed it. Now, last time I didn't bring this up, but you could use your ball at your sacrum. Maybe some of you remembered that last time. But see what it feels like if you did it and then you didn't. Now you do before you didn't. Notice that that's got a nice and grounding. Centering for my sacrum. Turn your head to the right. Let your head nod. Feel the chest open. And then especially let the abdomen move with your breath. So feeling how this experience in the core, specifically around the vital organs, is toning the organs, helping with circulation to them basically because of the pressurization from twisting. And that element of awareness, wherever you want to be with your arms, is perfect. And now fine tune this crossover by letting the weight of your left hip, that's probably turned into the side of it, how you are, your left leg might be bendy. Okay, keep it bendy so that the awareness through the fibers of the back line are responding to ease versus strict and straight and pulsing. Feel bending with it. And then slide the sand aside. And we'll take windshield wiper. So I want you to move the ball away if you have it at your sacrum and see if you can do this with or without the bolster. Okay, I like the bolster under my feet for windshield wiper. I would scoot it back center-ish on my mat and then let my knees swish from side to side. Knee swishing, okay? Not knee squishing, but knee swishing. So you might find that the elevation of the feet kind of helps that continuation from the last series of poses that were not symmetrical. Right now we're going into symmetry. So one thing that I'm learning is that counter poses bring symmetry to the body, right? So we're now in that final phase right here, kind of pressing the pause again. So as we let the hips shift from side to side, feel the movement in the back muscles, and then hug the knees in and circle. Both directions a couple times is plenty. And then hug the back of the legs, and you can either roll to the side and push up or roll from the spine up. And take a moment here to get your blocks, okay? You're going to place them under the bolster. If you prefer to do legs up the wall, like you're going to use a wall space, and put a bolster or a couple blankets at the base of the wall, right at the base, all the way to the edge, and then let your legs swing up the wall. You can also do that right now. Or maybe you practice chair shoulder stand. You can do that with anything that's an inversion. Now this is a pretty mild inversion, right? So when we're here, what I want you to do is have your blanket lengthwise, that's behind you, like this, under your spine, or if you want more inversion, put it on top of your other blanket on your bolster. Okay, so you can have it under your spine or another blanket up there. Okay, so it depends on how tired your legs are. If you end your day and your legs are kind of pulsating and you've been walking around a lot, you're tired, your leg energy is tired, you got a lot of fluid buildup, then I would let the legs get as high as you can get them, would be best. So, rest best. Take a few moments here. Stand across ribs. Give your body some time to counterpose from all we've done and bring symmetry in. So the heels float. If your legs are up with the wall, the heels are up and the sand might be on your feet. But where we are here is to let the heels float. Feel that still point in the spine. And noticing if there's any areas that you would point your focus inwards to. Let the ribs expand and contract. Feel our level of consideration for our body returning to a place of balance and peace. And maybe setting your intention or your practice is dedicated to something or something that's going on, right? Externally in the forces of the world, just noticing if there's something you have a particular hope for and bring it into your consciousness here. Maybe you just need to get your body to have more peace. So with a repetition of breath, 4 count in breath, 5 count out breath. One more time, 4 count in, 5 count out. And just let the breath be natural. Now as you move the sand off the ribs and you combine the forces of relaxation with alignment, you're going to start to slide your feet towards the top of your bolster, so your knees are pointing into you. And then when you start to move your knees to your chest, just consider hugging your knees in. Maybe let your spine center back. Depends on if you're on a cushion. Now, if you're on that blanket lengthwise into your back, this will be a little intense, right? So you might find rolling to the side is best. And then let your hands help guide you when you roll over with your body weight and then push yourself up. You can sit on a blanket or center your body to sitting without and let the shoulders roll back and lift your hands up to the forehead. Bow your head down to your heart center. Join a breath together here. And exhale, bowing into your heart. Namaste. Okay.